this wasn't working.
So I turned it into my car. I was like, so I turned it back on, left it on.
Well, so basically, there's a ground loop fault somewhere, and it used to be that it would die out in like, a minute or so. Now it's taking much longer. So that's what's happening.
Well, I say much longer. Well, yeah, probably. It's been on for 3 or 4 hours and it's still pretty fixed. So it must take like 24 hours.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, one thing we can try, if we really wanted to troubleshoot it, is just unplug everything. Turn on the amplifier and start plugging things back in one at a time, just in that back area, back in that area. Because that might isolate where the issue is.
If I can remember, I'm gonna make an announcement because everybody reads.
What? In what world are you living?
And I'll say that,
You watched Red River Rivalry?
you know, somebody actually asked me that, and I haven't watched that game in years.
Really?
Just can't.
Oh, you can't.
Unless Texas wins.
Yes.
And then I
Well, do you know the outcome?
yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay, are you gonna watch it now?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't remember, I never realized there was 2 teams. I am a fan of
Oh, yeah.
Arkansas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I'm on your side. I love about sports. The fact that it draws.
It's a rivalry. Yeah, just that game.
I was just like,
Yeah. Well, I watched it too.
well, that's true. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Communicating with nothing.
Man, did you?
Do you know the outcome of that?
Yes.
Okay.
You should watch the end.
I saw the beginning of the game, but I didn't see
Did you see the SLG?
I did not.
Okay. If you don't want to spend 3 hours, just watch like the last 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I get reminded why I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a legitimate thing. It's not like something.
You got it right. No, that's true.
Did she your second one?
What?
You guys, you choose it, who does the second one?
Separate.
How's Catherine?
Very well. She actually called us the first time, 2 weeks ago. Had a nice long, about an hour-long conversation with her. She sounded excited. She sounded like really into it. Just telling all these things that were happening. And
That's all.
she's looking to study abroad, wants to go to Italy, maybe next semester or next year or the year after, junior year maybe. So she's always got all these
Oh, that's awesome.
plans and things she wants to do.
Yeah.
It's neat to see her
That's
embrace
awesome.
it. And then I said, well, how are the classes? She says, man, this is going to be hard. It isn't. I'm serious. And then I asked, well, how's the dorm food? She says, everybody says it's going to be horrible. And it's good. And I was like, beat to your own drum, girl. Beat to your own drum.
You do your thing.
You do you. No, she's doing great. It was neat to hear her.
I think I told you that Holden sent me those, whatever.
Yes. Yeah. And he's actually down in Texas right now for Caleb's wedding.
Oh.
He left yesterday.
You dropped in?
All right, well, good morning, everyone. And yes, we have sound. We have too much sound. Yeah, please. Feel a little loud. I don't like to feel. I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at something else.
Quick street line.
Okay, so we're gonna be in
Genesis 32 today, and did you enjoy that, Doug? So we're going to be in Genesis 32, and we're going to kind of run through this because we've already dealt with it a little bit, and then hop into Genesis 33 and 34 and get through with these today. 34 is interesting because all of this stuff is kind of a backdrop to right before we meet the event and incident with Joseph. So Genesis 32, as we look at Jacob and Esau meeting, so we dealt with that, and then this man that wrestles with Jacob that ultimately is going to be God, Yahweh, however you want to define him, and that whole incident that takes place there. And then as Jacob meets Esau, chapter 33, to make peace, and we looked at the idea that Jacob sends these different phases, if you will, of people and money and stuff. And then once they finally do meet and they hug and welcome each other, Jacob gives these gifts to his brother, and verse 9 of Genesis 33. Well, verse 8, Jacob replied, they are a gift, my Lord, to ensure your friendship. And my brother, I have plenty, Esau answered. Keep what you have for yourself. So Esau didn't need any of those things. Verse 10, but Jacob insisted, no, if I have found favor with you, please accept this gift from me. And what a relief to see your friendly smile. It is like seeing the face of God, which I didn't look at the Hebrew, but I'm curious if that's the same term that we find in 32, where Jacob states that he saw the face of God and lived. But in seeing Esau and this good connection that they had, apparently the forgiveness, he has seen the face of God. Please take this gift that I have brought you, for God has been very gracious to me. You know, it kind of brings up an idea that I've been curious about for a very long time in terms of what are how can we decide the fruit and be convinced that someone has forgiven us? And especially if it's not like a miscommunication or something that's small, but something that's big. Something that happened that was big. How can we be assured that forgiveness has happened for them? Obviously not for us.
By their behavior.
By their behavior. By their response. And so how is Esau responding to all that Jacob has done here? It seems. It seems like Esau's moved on. He's got stuff, and Jacob wants to give him more. Esau says, I not only do I not need it, but you keep it. You know, where it seems as though he's saying we are good. And yeah.
I'm stuck back on verse, what was it, 10, I guess.
Yeah.
He says, for I have seen your face, which is like seeing the face.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because the night before, he wrestles with God, let's say. And he says, for I have seen God face to face and lived.
Yeah.
And now he's claiming that seeing Esau is like seeing the
Right.
face of God. It's almost as if that whole dream sequence was all about Jacob reconciling with Esau. It was a prelude to what was going to happen the next day.
Yeah.
And that's why,
Yeah.
so, you know, maybe we read too much into that dream sometimes. But maybe it was just simply, Jacob was wrestling with some things. His own guilt primarily.
Yeah.
How he treated Esau.
Yeah.
And now he's being reconciled with his brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is like seeing God. When you find reconciliation,
Yes.
it's like seeing God.
Yes. 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 And I think the times that the last 2 weeks, I may have got caught up in some minutia, which I, of course, never do. But one of the sources that I read as we're looking at Jacob wrestling with this man, with God, it seems as though from the time Jacob left Isaac and gets to Laban, and he and Laban go back and forth, that Jacob has been a manipulator, a deceiver, at whatever level you want to use that term. And when he gets here, even when he approaches Esau, from the time that he tries to meet up with Esau, what has he done? He tries to manipulate the situation. I'm going to send, 3 phases of people with stuff, and I'm going to send my family in front, and I'm going to do all this stuff instead of just straight up going to Esau. And whatever Esau does, but man, I've carried this for, 25 years, and I love you, and I want to reconcile, and blah, blah, blah. But instead, he sends all this stuff to him, and maybe manipulation is too strong of a word. But with this wrestling with God, and Doug, to your point, that Jacob is getting to a place where he can be more upfront. He doesn't have to be his own namesake.
It really sees the sending of all this stuff
Yeah.
as a heel to a thumb.
Yeah.
That's what it really feels like to me, rather than
Yeah.
manipulation.
Right.
I mean, he is trying to turn the tides in his favor, no question, but
Yeah.
I do feel like it's a real offer.
Yeah.
Seems to me like he's still manipulating stuff though, because later on when Esau says, "I'll accompany you," yes, sir. Jacob says, "No, go ahead of me and I'll meet up with you and sir." And then he goes to Shechem.
Yeah. And in fact, as we're about to get to that very thing, that's what kind of was, let's go together. Well, let's have our family. Yeah. Look, we got too much stuff, and we wouldn't mix. And he's so CD. It's not manipulation. It's just need to be in control, because manipulation isn't control, right? What's that?
I don't know if he still didn't trust Esau, but it seems like he's the one that's kind of got the bad attitude.
Yeah. So verse, I think it's verse, I don't know, and it's also interesting to me, but this is also kind of a reflection of my personality. In verse 9, my brother, I have plenty, keep what you have for yourself. What does Jacob do? You're going to take my stuff. If I have found favor with you, please accept this gift from me. And what a relief to see your friendly smile. It's like seeing the face of God. Please take this gift that I have brought for you. And this may only be curious to me, but each time you see the word God here, it's Elohim. It's not Yahweh. It's Elohim. And if it's Yahweh, it's usually Lord with the O-R-D and lower caps. So all of these terms are Elohim. For God, Elohim, has been very gracious to me, and I have more than enough. And because Jacob insisted, Esau finally accepted the gift. Well, Esau said, let's be going. I will lead the way. But Jacob said, verse 13, you can see, my Lord, that some of the children are very young. The flocks and herds have their young, too young. If they are driven too hard, even for one day, and the animals could die, please go ahead of your servant. We will follow slowly at a pace that is comfortable for the livestock and the children. And as Carol states, I will meet you in Seir. Esau says, cool, but at least let me assign some of my men to guide and protect you. Jacob said, that's not necessary. It's enough that you've revived me warmly. And so Esau turned around and started back to Seir that same day. Jacob, on the other hand, or rather Esau did, turned on to Succoth. And there he built himself a house and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place was named Succoth, which means shelters. Later, having traveled all the way from Padan Aram, Jacob arrived safely at the town of Shechem in the land of Canaan. And there he set up camp outside of the town. Now, this may be a small thing, but as I think about like this image in my head, you know, Jacob leaves Canaan, leaves his family, his dad and mom, travels to Padan Aram. And what was the singular purpose of him going to Padan Aram? Just to get a wife. Essentially, we call it get a wife, but it was to start a family. And why did he go to Padan Aram to do that? Besides, that's where his uncle was. Because Isaac said, do not do what? I don't want you getting a wife from Canaan. Get a wife where your uncle is. So he does that. And not only does he get a wife, but he has kids. He has a family, he has livestock, he has wealth. So then they come back to Canaan, to this place, Shechem. And again, to Carol's point, I'll meet you in Seir. No, I won't. I'm going to, and I didn't look at a map to see the distance between these two places, but so later he goes to Shechem in the land of Canaan. There he set up camp outside of the town. Jacob brought the plot of land where he camped from the family of Hamor, family of Shechem, for 100 pieces of silver, et cetera, et cetera. You know, this is a little off topic, but it kind of reminds me of in Houston, where I grew up. I keep saying Houston, but you guys don't know where. It's north of Houston, a town called Spring. And I could literally, if I stretched far enough, I could touch the house next to us. We just, and it's like a lot of places going up around here. The houses are very, very close together. And then I meet Terry and I go out to see her parents, and they live on, I don't know, 2.5, 3 acres. And so a lot of trees. And so unless you look at the right direction, right angle, you can't see the house that's next to you. And then we would drive sometimes through the country, and you would find these homes that are on like 10, 15 acres. And there's nothing anywhere around them. And it makes me kind of image and think about what Jacob's settlement was like. All the livestock he had, all the people that were going with him. And whether it's an excuse or not, you know, as he says, we're going to go at a comfortable pace with the livestock. And the stuff that he has, that's even after what he gifted to Esau. So, again, I've tried to sometimes image in my head what it looked like for him to move his stuff from place to place. And so he settles there in Shechem, in the land of Canaan. And what does he do? What does it say he does there at the very end? He builds an altar and names it El Israel. Power, Elohim, he who struggles with God, or he who struggles with El. So again, the term there, El, oftentimes has been attributed to the idea of God, but the term El, if my sources are accurate, specifically means power or might, which is probably why it's been attached to the name of God. And then El-He, I believe, is singular of Elohim. And then, of course, Israel is he who struggles with God. So, God, Elohim, he who struggles with God. And he builds this altar and names it that. Yeah.
This doesn't appear to be. I'm looking at the
Yeah.
note here on ESV.
Yeah.
It says God, the God of Israel.
Yeah.
It's almost
Yeah.
like it's being emphatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's God, but there is it's the God.
Yeah. Yeah.
The definite article there.
Yes. 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 Now, not to overdo this, because I never do that. That again, the word God is the word Elohim, and Laban had his Elohim. There was many Elohim at the time for different peoples and different individuals, and so Jacob, they're saying that God, this God, is the God, the Elohim of Israel, of me, Israel. Because there was no Israel yet, right? There's not even 12 tribes of Israel yet, right? There's just his sons. And so he is claiming that this place will be my Elohim. I will dedicate this to my Elohim. Because Laban had his Elohim, as we've gone through the stories and shown. Because when it says the God of Laban, I really doubt that was the God of Jacob. It was a different Elohim. So he is designating this place as the Elohim of Israel, the power of Israel, and all the stuff that God had given him. Okay, chapter 34, beginning of verse 1. I don't know when the last time you read this story was. I mean, I doubt it was sometime last week, most likely, in your Genesis Old Testament Bible study. It's kind of funny when you crack yourself up. So one day, Dinah, who is Dinah? It's the daughter of Jacob and Leah, went to visit some of the young men who lived in the area. And again, remember, the area is Canaan, and specifically Shechem. But when the local prince Shechem, son of Hamor, the Hivite, saw Dinah, he seized her and raped her. But then he fell in love with her, and he tried to win her affection with tender words. And he said to his father Hamer, go get me this girl. I need to marry her. Now, in these times, what did get me this girl mean?
Arrange a bride price.
Yeah. Find her dad, go buy her. So go get me this girl, I need to marry her. So at the outset, before we get to verse 5, anything unusual about this story? If you were to take this story out of a biblical context and put it into either secular history or just a novel writing, what do you find interesting about this story up to this point? Just this little part.
You raped her and then tried to win her affection with tender words?
I mean, there's nobody else that's like, wait, what?
I'm not sure that works.
Finds the girl, is violent, and not only violent, but he rapes her. And then he turns after raping her and does what? I actually really like you. So I'm going to go get you. I'm going to go tell my dad to buy you, essentially. Not like purchase, but, I want you as my wife. So soon Jacob heard that Shechem had defiled his daughter, Dinah. But since his sons were out in the fields heading his livestock, he said nothing until they returned. So what was the general position of a woman at this time? I know we've talked about this often in the last couple of months. They were property. They had babies, they raised the babies, they washed clothes, and they cooked food. And it's not even just that's what they were good for, it's what they did. So verse 6. So Hamor, Shechem's father, came to discuss the matter with Jacob. Meanwhile, Jacob's sons had come in from the field, and as soon as they had heard what happened, or let me rephrase, whenever they heard what happened, they came in from the field. They were shocked and furious that their sister had been raped. And so Shechem, let's see, I'm curious. I'm reading out of the NLT. Okay, so the NIV says defiled. I'm not suggesting anything different happened, but it's interesting. It kind of I don't know, not cleans up the word, uses a different term. So they were shocked whenever they found out that she had been defiled, had done this outrageous thing, a thing that should not be done. But Hamor said to them, my son Shechem has his heart set on your daughter, or your sister to the sons. Please give her to him as his wife. Intermarry with us. Give us your daughters and take our daughters for yourselves. You can settle among us. The land is open to you. Live in it, trade in it, and acquire property in it. So before we hit verse 11, guys, this is a Bible story. This is a Bible story. So you've got this guy in the land of Canaan, kind of makes you wonder. I wonder why Isaac told Jacob to go find a wife in Padan Aram. Get out of Canaan. So then Jacob does come back, Israel, with all his stuff, settles in a specific area in Canaan, and what happens? His daughter gets defiled. And not only does she get defiled, but now this guy's father comes to Jacob and he says, not only do I want your daughter to marry my son that defiled her, but hey, check out the land. Buy some stuff. Buy some property. Just chill out with us. And in fact, your sons can take our daughters as wives, and we'll just be a big happy family. Now, I don't know how you are with reading novels and stuff, but I found sometimes as people read novels and there's this reaction, oh, I can't believe he did that, and that was just so terrible, and I say that because I don't read novels. That's not my thing. But I would, the people that have read them and I talk to them about their novel, oh, this guy did this and this guy did this. But as we're reading through this, what is your response to this? Bible story and stuff happens. Really? Yeah.
Well, when you said that Shechem, after he raped her, then he talked tenderly to her. Well, I don't know that that's so odd, because you read all the time about women in abusive relationships.
Yeah.
And they get abused, and after the abuse goes, I'm sorry, it'll never happen again.
Right. Right.
I'll be nice, and it seems like that might be the situation here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know that it's
That out of bounds.
I guess.
You do
Yeah.
raise a good point, though. This was, it's why was it Isaac was not supposed to see
Yes. Yes.
Canaan.
Yes.
This is who they are.
Yes.
Also a prelude to what God is going to instruct the Israelites to do
Yeah.
when they take the land of Canaan, that is to wipe them out.
Yeah.
Take them all out. Do
Yeah.
not spare one.
Right.
And now I think we can understand why. That this is who they are.
Yeah. 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 And not only does that happen, which seems like, and I guess what's processing through my mind is not just that it's normal, but not only did this happen, but give me your daughter as a daughter-in-law, and make commerce, buy stuff, get land, intermarry with us. Let's hang out. Let's make this happen. This is going to be awesome.
Not to forget what the son says, all their livestock and possessions will eventually be ours if we do this.
Yeah.
Line 23.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So it isn't just, let's all be one family. Come on, join us and we'll get all your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So this may be an overreach, But it seems like, because the guy that I was listening to stated that when you look at Jacob's life and you look at it outside of a biblical mindset, what I mean by that is if you take this setting, this story, and you just put it into a secular novel, you're like, this guy's whole life has been what he was named, a heel grabber, a manipulator, a deceiver. And so he gets now, even after he did what he did to Esau, and trying to manipulate the situation, it seems, to make sure that Esau forgives him. Then he gets into this situation, and his daughter is raped, and then they're trying to get the daughter a part of their family. For what ultimate purpose? So we can take your stuff. Possibly. So as they're wanting to come together and make this happen, and this is also one of those where I don't know, it's just a funny story from this angle. Because your sister Dinah has been defiled, verse 13, Jacob's son replied deceitfully as they spoke to Shechem and his father Hamor. They said to them, we can't do such a thing. We can't give our sister to a man who is not circumcised. That would be a disgrace to us. We will enter into an agreement with you on one condition. And you guys know the condition. You've heard the story a few billion times. What's the condition?
Circumcision.
All your males need to be circumcised. I don't know if this is necessarily an inappropriate comment, but the times when this comes up, the only thing that I can somewhat make it analogous to, when I was growing up, I played a lot of soccer, and on one occasion, we were, playing soccer, and I was defending this guy and waiting for him to do something, and for whatever reason, he chose to kick the ball really, really hard and hit me in that place. And I just literally almost stopped breathing. I fell to the ground, and I was there for about 4 minutes, not moving. And that's not circumcision. So it's very interesting what they're presenting to him, obviously doing it deceitfully, because knowing, if all your males of fighting age are circumcised, especially an adult man, you're going to be done for a little while. You're going to be out for a little while. So verse 18, the proposal seemed good to Hamor and his son Shechem. You kind of wonder if they knew what circumcision was. The proposal seemed good to them. What is the proposal going to give them? What are they doing this for? The girl and stuff. We're going to get circumcised, and my son gets Dinah, and we're going to intermarry. And at the end of the day, the long circle around is we get your stuff. That's what this is all about. So yeah, we'll be circumcised. Ooh. I tell you, even outside of the circumcision, it's like, I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to line all your men up, and we're just going to, all of our young teenagers, we're going to line all your men up, and we're going to kick them as hard as we can between the legs. That's what we're going to do. That's how this is going to get taken care of. It's not even that. It's circumcision. Seems good to us. Let's do this. And so the young man who was most honored of all by his father's family, lost no time in doing what he said because he was delighted with Jacob's daughter. So Hamor and his son Shechem went to the gate of their city to speak to the men of their city. These men are friendly toward us. Let them live in our land and trade in it. The land has... Now, if they just had Dinah and they didn't have stuff. I mean, you could almost imagine, again, growing up in Houston, and I only say Houston because that's where I grew up. There's tons of other places in our country like this. But sometimes you would walk into someone's home, and you walk by a car, and you walk in their home, and maybe they're hunters or fishermen or techie or whatever. And man, there's places you can just smell the money. You just see it everywhere. And not a bad thing at all, but you could. So as they're dealing with Jacob here, and they just see stuff, he's just sprawled out. If we get Dinah, and then we intermarry, we also get things. So again, what are they trading here? Circumcision for wealth.
Because effectively, remember Shechem was a local prince.
Yeah, true.
His dad was the local ruler.
True.
What it really meant is that they were going to stop being Israel and become
Yeah.
part of his kingdom.
Yeah, true. So there's a huge amount of kind of not just symbolism, but ideas going on here in terms of a lot of the precursor of what's happening. So verse 25, verse 24, all the men are circumcised. Verse 25, 3 days later, while all of them were still in pain, two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took their swords and attacked the unsuspecting city. And what'd they do?
Slaughtered every male.
Killed everybody, all the men. They put Hamor and his son Shechem to the sword, took Dinah from Shechem's house, and left. Sons of Jacob came upon the dead bodies, and they looted the city where their sister had been defiled. They seized their flocks and herds and the donkeys and everything else of theirs in the city, out in the fields, carried off their wealth, their women, their children, taking as plunder. So what kind of essentially happens here as a result of the circumcision? So the men of Shechem saying, if we can bide our time, we get their stuff. But Jacob and his brothers kind of flip the table, and we get all your stuff. And not only do we get your stuff, but what else? You're dead. Killed everybody, ransacked your city. And not only did they take their stuff, what else did they take? Women and children. Took everything. Took all of it. And so to Bob's point, what Shechem wanted in terms of collaborating the two groups still happened, minus the men. So there's still this coalescing of people, but it's Jacob and his sons doing it as opposed to it happening the other way. So then Jacob says to Simeon and Levi, you have brought trouble on me by making me, the NIV says, obnoxious.
The NLT says you've made me stink among all the people.
You made me stink. Yes, the NLT says, you have ruined me. You've made me stink among all the people of the land, among all the Canaanites and Perizzites. We are so few that they will join forces and crush us. I am ruined. My entire household will be wiped out. But why should we let him treat our sister like the NLT says, like a prostitute? They retorted angrily. One of the things I think I have found that in terms of actually reading, and just so everybody knows, when I say this, I can read. Obviously, I'm doing it here, but I do struggle with it, is when you see something on a video, we're reading it here, and if our reading is calm, it seems like this whole thing is not as whatever. But imagine Jacob going at this with Simeon and Levi. As they come back and he hears what happened, not only the fact that the town, all the men are dead, and then he looks up and he sees all these people, these strange women, these children he doesn't know. And then they got all this stuff, this massive amount of stuff that's coming, that's new, that's not theirs. Well, how'd this happen? Oh, we had them get circumcised, and then we killed all the men. In fact, if you were to go to Shechem right now, what would you see? A bunch of dead bodies. Dead bodies of men that were circumcised. And what is Jacob's response? And I mean, I could sit here and get all upset. He's mad. You've ruined us. We're done. Because as soon as the word gets out, not only, it's not just Shechem now, because obviously their men are dead. It's all these different warring groups are going to come at us because of what you did to Shechem. I will be ruined. My entire household will be wiped out. We are done for. What was their response? But Dad, you raped my sister. You defiled my sister. Which kind of, I don't know, turns on a head to a degree the comments I made. As you go through the children of Jacob, all the different sons have these different stories around them. And then Dinah was born. Anyway, and there's no note about her whatsoever. And then she gets this entire story, and they're like, "You raped our sister." And so yeah, we're gonna take care of that. Interesting stuff. Interesting story.
Like father, like sons.
What? It matters, doesn't it? It matters. Okay, so, and then in chapter 37, and no, we're not going to go there because we're done, you get into Joseph's dreams, and that whole story that we dealt with a couple months ago. So I've got two different plans in terms of what we're going to do in the following weeks, and I'll let you know next week what we're going to do, and we'll go from there. So thanks for your comments.